Welcome everybody to the Short Sports Show. I am your host, Daniel Short. Today is Saturday, July 18th, and I know, it's been a while. I'm sorry for that, but we are back, and I am excited. We have a jam-packed show, college football, ton of news. I'm excited that we have that, and a good amount of NFL news, but most likely a lot of it's going to be college football news. So we're going to start off with Georgia Tech. Self-reported an NCAA violation after head coach Paul Johnson made comments about incoming graduate transfer an half hour too soon. This is how ridiculous it is. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Johnson committed the violations in April by saying that the Yellow Jackets were excited to have Stanford transfer Patrick Scove join the program, but it turned out the transfer process was 30 minutes from being official. And per NCAA rules, the school cannot make public comments on unsigned recruits, including transfers, other than confirming its recruitment of prospect players. Georgia Tech classified the error as a level 3 violation per the newspaper, which obtained the school's report through open records request. Johnson was required to attend a rules education session in light of his premature comments on Scove, and I don't know, 30 minutes before, is it really that big of a deal? And also, Johnson said to the newspaper that basically the same thing. He's not gaining an advantage over anybody else. It's not like, oh, okay, I said it 30 minutes early, so it's a big deal. I don't know. He had to attend a class. They're not going to get hit with anything, but one of those weird NCAA rules. And another thing, I don't know if it's a good thing because now it's finally going to be put in the past, or just it could be a bad thing for the future. A federal judge has approved a $60 million settlement for college athletes in a class action lawsuit filed against the NCAA and video game maker Electronic Arts, also known as EA. The judge also ruled against NCAA in the O'Bannon case filed by former UCLA forward Ed O'Bannon, which challenged the NCAA's use of names, images, likeliness of college athletes. That ruling is being appealed by the NCAA now. The whole thing is, people like me, it doesn't matter what age you are, I think everybody truly enjoyed it, and that was the NCAA college football game by EA that came out every single year until 2013. That's such an amazing game to play. I love it. I think that was way better than Madden. There's something about college football, and then you have a video game for it. I mean, you could do so many things, and because people got upset because they didn't do anything with their athletic careers, they needed to get paid for some of that. And I'll jump into another topic of this in just a little bit. Let me just finish this part. The plaintiffs in the case against the NCAA and EA contended they illegally used college football and basketball players' names and likeliness in video games for years. Players who have appeared in EA's NCAA football and basketball games have until July 31st to make a claim as a part of the settlement. Quote, "This landmark decision marks the first time student athletes will be paid for the likeliness, I keep struggling with that word, or image, and stands as a huge victory on the ongoing fight for student athletes' rights," Berman said in the statement. Berman said the maximum an individual can claim from the settlement is $7,026. And again, the NCAA video games were discontinued in 2013 because of pending legal actions against the NCAA regarding the use of athletes' names, images, and likeliness. My whole thing with this is, and back to that quote, is this is what Berman said: as it stands a huge victory in ongoing fight for student athletes' rights and them getting paid for it. I'm all for that. I believe those college athletes, no matter what sport it is, should get paid a little bit of something, because you cannot have a job, go to school, and still have practice and film sessions and all that, no matter what the sport is. I mean, you could, but your grades would drop tremendously, or you would struggle in sports. Your focus can't be on all three of those at the same time. So I believe college athletes should get paid, a sum of money equally, and all that good stuff. My whole thing is with this is, why did they have to make this case? Like, why didn't they push for just all this effort and all this money that went into just because a video game had somewhat you in it, even though EA did a good job about not putting the name. They just put the numbers of the players and the starting, the depth chart and stuff like that, and who's the star player. But they didn't say any names. They didn't change. They changed where that person was from. I mean, you could have had Marcus Mariota, and they could put him that he was from Alabama or something in the game. It never said he was from Hawaii or anything like that. It just had number 8. Half the time, players don't even look like each other. It's just, why attack that when, those athletes love playing that game, and you basically took that away from not only yourself, but millions of others, thousands of others, hundreds of thousands of others. And mainly this all happened was because this person and half of these players didn't do anything successfully and going up to the pro level and actually playing for multiple years and spend their money right. So they needed to get some money somehow, so they went after this. I think it's ridiculous, and partly because I'm biased and, I'm not in their situation, but, why take something so good away? Why do that? And for them, $7,000, I mean, that's what they're going to get, I guess, per year. Is that really going to help you live? Is that going to help you make a living? $7,026. That's the maximum someone can get. So, I mean, it's going to be less than that. Does that really help you? I don't know. I think this whole thing was just ridiculous, and you took away NCAA football games. Who knows if they'll come back? Hopefully, they said the earliest would be 2017. EA Sports didn't say that, but a lot of rumors, a lot of sources around them said 2017 would be the earliest. But with I know there's also problems with the SEC and I believe the Big Ten. They were pulling out because they wanted more money for using their logos and stuff like that. I don't know. It's all crazy, but hopefully this can all get resolved now that this is in the past, and we will have an NCAA football game. Maybe in a basketball. They used to have baseball game too. I mean, this college sports is fun to play on video games if you don't play in real life. So I just wish they'd bring it back. But that's my little rant right there. Let's move on. Crazy things happening at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. The federal government has launched an investigation into sexual violence at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. In an email to faculty, staff, students obtained by the Tennessean, Chancellor Jimmy Cheek said the university was notified that an individual had filed a complaint with the federal government regarding the university's response to a report of sexual violence. The U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights confirmed it launched its investigation on June 29th. At least 6 Tennessee football players on last season's roster have been accused of sexual assault, including former linebacker AJ Johnson and defensive back Michael Williams have pleaded not guilty to aggravated rape charges, with the trial set to begin August 24th. They were both suspended from the football team in November, one day before Knoxville police named both as subjects of a rape investigation. Johnson has since graduated and completed his eligibility, but the lawyers for both players have said their clients are innocent of charges of raping women at a Knoxville apartment in November. Going on with this story, officials told the newspaper that they were, quote, in the process of collecting and preparing the information of civil rights of, preparing, words. The information of the Office of Civil Rights has requested. I screwed that all up, but it's all good. Been out the show for a while, guys. The SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey said this week that the league is in the process of forming a working group to study how to best minimize conduct issues among athletes. He stopped short of specifics on who will form the group or how it will be operated, but this is going to be a huge topic going to Media Day and how each team and how the SEC is going to handle this, especially when Tennessee comes up to the booth. Those players are going to be asked, the coach is going to be asked what they're doing about this situation. And of course, the comment's going to be like, oh, well, federal government's taking care of it, so we can't say anything about it. But be expecting a lot of that. In May, the SEC passed legislation that banned its member institutions from accepting transfer students with, quote, serious misconduct in the past. Again, we talked about that a few shows back, and I 100% agree with it. I think every conference should do that. I think that's common sense, but we know how it is and how teams want to win. Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn said that he thought the increased emphasis on domestic violence would spearhead the move, saying, quote, "Of course, I believe there should be a zero tolerance policy as far as that goes. I think that's what's heading it up." I don't know why he said that. And I would think most people would have the same view. An Office of Civil Rights spokesman told the Tennessean that there are 135 cases of sexual violence under investigation and 121 post-secondary institutions, including Vanderbilt University and the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. This all being from the Associated Press. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this goes for Tennessee and what their things are. I have another story after this, but I'm going to go ahead and jump into this one because it's basically somewhat the same topic. And we all know about Florida State and what's been happening with them. So here we go. After 2 Florida State football players were charged with misdemeanor battery only days apart last week, President John Trasher put forth an outline of the university's plans to improve student-athletes' behavior through education, saying, quote, "When you have 2 things like this happen, you get national attention. You have to pay attention to it." Trasher said FSU wants student-athletes to be required to take some course in social responsibilities, one that, quote, would give them some additional background in consequences of actions and understanding that we live in a social media world. Everything you do is scrutinized. Additionally, FSU wants to plans to add another position in its compliance department to oversee student-athlete development. The university and athletic department also hope to encourage good behavior by bringing in positive outside influence such as speakers and former players to talk to the team about character, according to Trasher, which that's all a good thing. You know, and FSU has been struggling recently this past year or two with some players not doing the common sense things. In addition, Trasher told the Democrat, which is the newspaper, whatever. He wants to look at recruiting, particularly the background of incoming players. While that is something the coaching staff already does, quote, "I think it's particularly important now that we do that, just to reassure ourselves we're looking at all aspects of the background of those young people." And of course, the most recent problems are former freshman quarterback DeAndre Johnson was dismissed from the team after the state's attorney office released video showing him punching a woman in the face last month at a Tallahassee bar. A few days later, running back Dalvin Cook was suspended indefinitely after alleging punching a 21-year-old woman in the face several times during an argument outside a bar last month. Oh my goodness. When all this came out, it was just huge. You're looking at not even a Florida State fan just slapping your head like, what are you doing? What is happening to Florida State? And that leads me to a question of why hasn't the NCAA done anything with Florida State? We see all these sanctions for some of the weirdest things, things that happen. You know, I know it's going to relate to like the Penn State thing. Obviously that was a terrible thing. That happened so long ago, and then they give them sanctions. This is happening recently. Multiple players doing something very stupid, but from hitting a woman to stealing, all this other stuff. We don't hear anything about it from the NCAA and what they're going to do about it. Nothing even happens. Why isn't Florida State right now, whose players have done so many bad things, why isn't NCAA coming out? And I'm not saying a huge sanction or anything, but saying, hey, what's going on? You could tell them control your team to the head coach. You could tell him that, but what else is that going to do? That's not going to do anything. That wasn't common sense to him, that he was supposed to control his team when he first signed the contract. I don't know. I just don't like how Florida State's basically getting away with all of this, and nothing's happening. Trasher met with the Florida State football team for about 20 minutes on Monday. He told the Democrat that he stood in front of the players and issued them a challenge, saying, quote, "Are there any leaders in here?" And then he shouted again, "Are there any leaders in here?" At first, Trasher said that only 10 stood up, but that changed as he moved towards the team and raised his voice, saying, quote, "Every one of them stood up. And I said, 'Are you with me? Do you understand the consequences, the concerns? Are you going to help us get through this?' And every one of them said, 'Yes, sir.'" Trasher met with head coach Jimbo Fisher, and who, quote, "clearly understood the gravity of the situation." Yeah, sure. Nothing's happened. I think it's ridiculous that nothing's happened. I think think back to this. Back in the day, back in the old school, early 90s, 80s, the University of Miami, when players were kind of getting in trouble, right? And doing things people didn't like. They were getting ridiculed. NCAA was really looking down on them. I mean, it came to a point where they thought Miami should close down completely have their football team shut down. Now, I know Florida State hasn't done a total amount, but then again, you look at some of those reports that saying that Florida State has had more problems with the law in the past, 10-something years, and it's a huge gap between all the Florida schools, and it's just like nothing has happened with Florida State. They're not getting anything. It's like they're basically getting away with it. I don't know. I think something should happen. Let me know. Tweet me at @short_sports 24/7. You guys are listening to the Short Sports Show. I don't know. I just think something should happen with Florida State. Let me know. I'm sure I'm going to get something from some Florida State fans saying, I don't know. But let me know again. That's at @short_sports 24/7. Also the Facebook page of the Short Sports Show. And just let me know. Tweet me. Facebook it. Whatever it is, let me know. Comment here on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Put it in the comment section. Let me know below. Also, former Michigan Wolverines defensive lineman Andre Pipkins said he'll transfer to, sadly, Texas Tech and sit out this season to play for his senior year for the Red Raiders in 2016, saying, quote, "I believe they have the best plan for me. Now it's about executing the plan." Last month we talked, last show, which was almost like a month ago, Pipkins told ESPN that Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh, head athletic trainer Paul Schmidt, and associate athletic director Jim Minnick asked Pipkins about 10 times over a 2-month period to sign a medical scholarship form that would end his football career with the Wolverines before he wanted to end. Pipkins, who played last season after he was cleared to return from a torn knee ligament, said doctors initially told him that he has some arthritis in his knee, but he should not be disqualified from competition. But as others within the program continued to pressure Pipkins to sign a medical form, Michigan sent him back to a knee surgeon who recommended him that he rest for 6 months. So, of course, he didn't want to leave Michigan. Michigan was his favorite school, and basically the athletic team just said, "You got to go. We don't want you to play here." And now he's going to go play for Texas Tech. I know he was considering TCU too. Very disappointed. Very disappointed he decided to go to Texas Tech. But I guess maybe playing time because, Tech needs all the help they can get. Am I right? Okay, anyways, let's move on. One more news before we move on to the NFL, and that is TCU news, of course. I got to plug them somehow. TCU, of course, is a runaway favorite to win the Big 12. The conference released its preseason poll voted by the media on Thursday, which TCU earning 32 first place votes, sitting at top of the ranking, while Baylor, sucks to be you, only had 10 first place votes. But of course, preseason polls, preseason awards, they don't matter. They're just guesses. They're just fake, not fake opinions. It doesn't matter. We got a game. We got games to win. And with that, awards will come. And I'm excited for this. Oh, man. Guys, can you believe it? We're 6 weeks away from high school football. Majority, the big schools, at least here in Texas, 6 weeks away from high school football. I am excited, which gets us closer to college football and then the NFL. Hibernation is almost over, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Let's move on to the NFL. Not a whole lot of news, but some pretty interesting stories here. Former Indianapolis Colts wide receiver Reggie Wayne plans to play a 15th and final NFL season this fall, and has said that several teams have called about his services, but he just hasn't signed a deal yet. Wayne wanted his final season to be with the franchise he spent his entire career with, but that opportunity never came, as the Colts announced March 6th that they would not be re-signing the veteran. When asked why he wants to play one more season, Wayne said, quote, "I want to finish how I know I can finish." And that's because Wayne had his worst season since 2002 last season, totaling 64 receptions for 779 yards and 2 touchdowns while dealing with an elbow injury and a torn triceps in the second half of the season. Now that the surgery has been done here in the offseason, he said that he's focusing on getting, quote, as healthy as possibly can, and also saying, quote, "It's weird because this is one of my best years as far as being in the best shape that I've been in a while." Wayne said, "It's coming along great." And, of course, Wayne finished his Indianapolis Colts career with 1,070 receptions for 14,345 yards and 82 touchdowns. And going to be moving on. But the thing is, I don't understand. I mean, for missing a few games and dealing with the injuries that he did, even though the touchdowns were tremendously low at 2, he still had 779 yards. I feel like that's a solid yards. And you brought Andre Johnson in there, who is not that young. I mean, he's not that young. So I would think, especially since they have I can't think of his first name, McCreef. They have some young receivers at T.Y. Hilton, McCreef. Now you bring Johnson in. If you had Reggie Wayne too, I mean, just sub-package him in. I mean, I think that would be fine. And teaching those younger guys, he wants to be with Indianapolis, of course, because that was the team he spent all his career with. Why not just keep him that one more year? If you know it's just one more year, give him a little bit more than veterans minimum. Have him teach the younger guys, be around. The fans are still happy because they have Reggie Wayne. He's not a bad target to throw to. I think what he was able to do last season with those injuries, I'd still keep him. There's no doubt in my mind. And the fact that he still hasn't had a team, that he hasn't signed with the team, because obviously every NFL player always says several teams have talked to them. I mean, that's just the thing to spark up, because if nobody is talking to him and the other teams think that he is, then they want to jump in there and make sure they can get a deal done. But I think he still has something left in the tank for one more year, and it wouldn't hurt. I wouldn't mind seeing him going to Seattle. I think that'd be huge. Being with those younger receivers, teaching them, being with Russell Wilson, sharing the knowledge that Reggie Wayne has learned with Andrew Luck and, of course, Peyton Manning would be huge for Russell Wilson, and it'd be a good target. And I think it'd be fine, especially Reggie Wayne wants to win a championship. Seahawks have a pretty good job after being back to the Super Bowl back-to-back times and winning one of them, and probably should have won both. But that's a different story. Reggie Wayne, best of luck, and I hope he can get to Seattle or maybe the Cowboys. That would be something, right? Now with the deal signed, Demaryius Thomas says he wants to retire a Bronco. Denver wide receiver Demaryius Thomas said Friday he's glad negotiations worked out on a new long-term deal, and that he looks forward to helping the team win the Super Bowl. Thomas, who's 27, who had been designated as the team's franchise player, signed a 5-year, $70 million deal Wednesday that include $43.5 million in guarantees. Shortly after, Dez Bryant got the same deal, just $45 million guaranteed. And though the negotiations came down to the final hours before the deadline for teams to sign players with franchise tag, Thomas said he never doubted an agreement would be made, saying, quote, "No, I didn't. I kind of knew for a little while I was going to be a Bronco. Kind of a week before they were going back and forth, and I kind of knew. He likes to say, I kind of. And he did. And he got the deal. And this led to something else. Shortly after, if I can find my story here, shortly after Demaryius Thomas signed that deal, he received a text message from a guy named AJ Green, Bengals wide receiver, who was heading into his final year of his rookie contract. Said that, he didn't want to deal with any contract situations this offseason. Wanted to just focus on finishing out his contract, but he still wants to be with the Bengals, which could lead with something. But after Demaryius Thomas got his contract, Green was one of the first people to reach out to Demaryius Thomas after the deal was done. Green's text message showed that he was aware of Thomas's contract and should have some bearing of his own future contract. This is what AJ Green sent Demaryius Thomas. It said, quote, "Thank you," end quote. Green said that he's fine waiting until after the 2015 season to get a new deal, and Dez Bryant getting the same years and total money from the Cowboys gives him and the Bengals a better idea of where the discussions will be headed come next offseason. And given that Green has comparable numbers to both Dez Bryant and Demaryius Thomas with one less NFL season, this could be huge for AJ Green and what he can get from the Bengals, and if not, where he can go somewhere else. Which, Bengals, if I were them, they have a pretty good, one of the best salary caps in the NFL. I would look to have locked him up this season, because if you wait until next season, yes, you could put a franchise tag on him and basically force him to play or force him to be on your roster. But after what Thomas and Dez Bryant just went through, Bengals need to watch out and really watch that salary cap, because if AJ Green posts another year like he has in the past the past 3. The past 4. He's played 4 years, then Bengals might be in a problem if they have to get in a bidding war, because every NFL team is going to try to offer the max contract to AJ Green if he becomes available. Not saying that he will, but there is that chance. All right, back to my other stories. I'm put that at the top and put the other one at the bottom. I know I messed it all up. J.J. Watt warns high school athletes the dangers of social media. On Friday, Watt took the time to offer advice to some of the nation's top high school athletes at the annual Gatorade Athlete of the Year function in Los Angeles, where he was among the presenters. Watt emphasized the importance of being careful with what they publish on Twitter and Instagram, saying, quote, "Read each tweet about 95 times before sending it. Look at every Instagram post about 95 times before you send it. A reputation takes years and years and years to build, but it takes one press of a button to ruin it. So don't let it happen to you. Just be very smart about it." And, of course, this wasn't the first time Watt has cautioned younger athletes about how they portray themselves on social media. There was a huge controversy last October when J.J. Watt called out Tennessee Titans quarterback Zach Mettenberger for his posting of multiple selfies during a week the quarterback was named the Titans starter. So J.J. Watt, obviously very smart. He being able to say that and not being one of those athletes just like, yeah, everybody's good. You have the chance to be up here. I'm out. No, he's obviously very caring about the youth and making sure they don't screw up and make any mistakes that he might have or he knew of or something like that. And very good by him. A football from the AFC Championship game sold for nearly $44,000 in auction. Auction house Lelands.com sold the ball from the now famous Deflategate game on behalf of Laura Anthony, who was given the ball by New England Patriots wide receiver Brandon LaFell in the third quarter after his teammate LeGarrette Blount scored a touchdown. So she got, I think the final number is like $43,700 and blank dollars or something like that. But basically $44,000 in auction. Not bad at all for a football game you just happen to go to. Cameron Hayward signed a 6-year, $59.25 million contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hayward will make $21 million within the first 8 months of the deal, according to the source. That's $21 million, breaks down to a $12 million signing bonus, a $3 million roster bonus that is due soon, and a $1 million base salary for 2015 and a $5 million March roster bonus. Basically, he's getting paid a ton of money. $21 million in just 8 months. Sign me up. The Jaguars, a guy that won't be getting any money, and that's Ace Sanders. The Jaguars announced that they have waived wide receiver Ace Sanders, who was a 4th-round pick in the 2013 NFL Draft. Sanders played in the 27 games his first 2 seasons with the Jags and caught 57 passes for 539 yards and a touchdown. He also serves as the team's main punt returner in each season, averaging 6.4 yards per return on 57 tries. Sanders caught 51 passes as a rookie in 2013, but dropped to only 6 receptions last season after the Jags added several rookie wide receivers to the roster. And also, Sanders didn't really help himself after drawing a 4-game suspension from the league for violating the league's substance abuse policy. Not really going to help you there. But that is it for today's show. Solid timing for us. We will be back. New schedule, guys. Next Friday. The Short Sports Show will now be every Friday. And once football season starts, I believe actually the week before football season, for sure the NFL, I guess we might do it college football. As time gets closer, we'll figure it out. But for right now, every show for the Short Sports Show will be every Friday, early in the mornings, just because of different schedules, work, stuff like that. And then come NFL college football season, we will be Mondays and Fridays, doing a preview on Friday of what the games are going to be and a recap on Mondays, just like we used to do. Off season to do 2 shows. There's really not a whole lot going on to do it, so I'm not going to do it just, especially school and work wasn't really helping me out. But now, once football season starts, it gets closer, it'll be a lot easier to do all of that. So, again, follow me on Twitter at @short_sports 24/7. Download today's and past podcasts on iTunes. My YouTube channel is down below. If you're listening on YouTube, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family. Become a fan on Facebook. The link is down below. Click on that and like the page. And whether you're listening on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, whatever it may be, SoundCloud, like it, share it, tweet it at me saying that you listen to it. Also, we have Q&A sessions, so send me your questions at any point during the time of the show or anytime during the week, and I will post it up on here and answer it for you. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be sports. It could just be random stuff like, do you like goldfish that are colorful or the normal ones? I don't know. It could be anything, guys. But next show, Friday morning. I will see you guys then. As always, God first, God bless. I'm out. Peace.